Hello students. So today in this session we are going to learn those top reasons of startup failure. Now unfortunately in our world most of the time what we do is we appreciate the successes. I think it is more important for all of us to understand and appreciate and celebrate the failures. Why? Because it is said that success would not teach you many things, but failure will teach you a lot of lessons. And it is also said that in the journey of startup, I would personally suggest you see if somebody has already given their time, money, energy, and then he or she has failed the startup. On the other hand, somebody who has given the time, money, energy, and he succeeded the startup. And if you meet these two people, I think as an aspiring entrepreneur, as a student, as somebody who wishes to build the startup in future, I think when you go to both of those people, you will have a lot of learning from the person who has failed, from the person who has lost their money, from the person who has lost their time and energy, in comparison to the person who has succeeded. Why? Because the one who has failed, you will get to know what all mistakes he or she has made and he has failed. And learning from them will help you to understand that what mistakes you should not make in order to get failed. On the other hand, from a successful person, you will get to know that what all they have done to get success, right? But I think when you're starting a journey, I think as a startup founder, we should aim to be successful, but we should plan for the failure. Why? Because when we plan for the failure, we will fail, but we will not fail miserably, right? So this is my suggestion to all of you. So let us understand top reasons of startup failure from the people who have done a lot of research out of it. So I'm sharing one of those research. It says top 10 startup mistakes, and you see the biggest reason why startups fail is coming out to be building something nobody wants. Almost 36% of the startups who have failed, they were failed because of this one reason where they have built something, I mean building a product or a service which nobody actually wants. Now to be honest, when they started the journey, they have felt that this is required, this is the need of consumer, this is the need of the time, and that's why they have invested their energy, their time, and their money into building that product or service. When they launched it, they have understood the customer behavior, that they need something else, they don't need this. It was my hypothesis that they need this. So the biggest reason that came out to be building something which nobody wants. So very important for you to understand the customer's need before you put yourself into commitment mode. Second reason came out to be hiring poorly. Many a times in startup, the need is verified, the product is verified, they go on expansion mode, and then they start hiring poor people, right? Lack of focus is the third reason that came out to be. Fail to execute sales and marketing. Even if you have good product and services, and if you don't promote it in a way it should be, then you have failed. So around 12% of startup, those who failed, have failed because of this reason. And then there are multiple reasons like having the not having the right co-founders, and then chasing the investors and not the customers. Very important. Startup founders find themselves that I am successful because I got money from investors. Let me tell you, getting money from investor is not success. I would say if you chase your customers, if you try to understand your customer very well and you build product for it, investors will anyway come behind you to put in money into your startups, right? And there are other reasons too, but our focus was focusing on the major reasons. And then not making sure you have enough money. Many times you keep on spending money in different things, and then you don't have that money left over to pay the salaries of the important people. That's where you shut down your company. Spending too much money. When the startup raises fund, they start spending money in advertisement and giving cashbacks and discount to acquire customers. You need to understand their psychology. You need to understand that whether it is required or not at this point of time. Failing to ask help. Many times they don't ask help from other people. That's why they would have failed. Ignoring social media. So those are the top reasons. But in top 10, I would say 1, 2, and 3. If you have acquired, if you have solved these three, and if you have focused on these three, and if you are sure, I think the success rate of a startup is more than 70%. Let's see another analysis. This is from another CBI Insight research that has been done. And you see, they have listed top 20 reasons for startup failure. And the biggest result came out, 42% of startup, as per their research, 42% of startup have failed because of no market need. Identifying the same thing, that You are building something which nobody wants. Market does not need the product, but you have built it because you realize that this is required, right? So it's very, very important for a startup founder to understand that whether what they're building is actually required or not. And there are other reasons too. I mean, I'll not go to the details of those reasons. If you just look at run out of cash, not a right team, and other things. But we will focus on most important ones so that you understand that. See again another research that has came out, and people say that 34% of startups that have failed because of no product market fit. Again, the same product market fit basically is the product which market requires, and if that combines, that is product market fit. But here, if you build a product which is not fitting into the market, which means there is no market need, that's the reason why startup fails. So, and second highest reason is 22% is marketing problem. They don't have proper channels for promoting their product and services. That is very also essential. Then third is team, not having the right team. So if you look at all these surveys and research, you will identify top three reasons would be: first, building something which nobody wants; second, you are struggling with your marketing strategies and you're not promoting your product in a enough way; third, not having the best team with you, right? So if you are thinking of starting a startup, make sure you have all these three problems settled, and I think the chances of being successful is increasing like anything. Another thing, people in these days say that 80% of startups fail after 3 years of their incorporation. 80%, or around after 4 years of their execution, right? I'll tell you one thing. In my interaction with all those failed startup entrepreneurs or failed startup founders, when I interact with them, I realize that it is startups who get failed, or rather startup ideas who get failed, companies get closed down, but the startup founders does not get failed. That's why I say always remember, startup get failed, not the startup founders. The one who is running the startups, they are not failing. They have actually, the moment one startup fails, the idea fails, they close down the company. On the very next day, they start thinking about another company, another idea. So we have seen people, in fact, you talk about Swiggy, the founder of Swiggy, they have failed their first startup. They came back with another startup and then they are successful today in Swiggy. You talk about LinkedIn. The founder of LinkedIn it's not their first startup, it's the second startup. The first startup was a social net. It was failed miserably, and then they came up with second startup. So we have seen people, not only the startup ideas get failed, so don't worry about those failures, but what is more important is you learn a lot in that process, and then you bounce back with more energy and with more learnings in your failed startup, and then the chances of your being successful is very, very high at that point of time. I'm not wishing you that you should fail, but I wish that you learn from those who have failed and try not to repeat those mistakes. So I think we have got the good reasons of why startup fail in first, and then we should not repeat those mistakes. With this, thank you so much. Wish you all the best.